Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Court. I am an illustrator and painter and art person. That's Helly from Severance. But today we are going to be finishing my 2026 calendar. So kind of a chatty art vloggy sort of thing. I don't know, maybe it's stolen valor to call this a vlog if I'm not actively talking to the camera. This is voiceover Court. But yeah, we'll be painting, we'll be chatting. This is my palette. I use acrylic paint for all of the calendar pages. That's my iPad. But yeah, this is a Stay Wet palette. I don't know if there's multiple types. I mean, you can kind of DIY it, but it's basically just a container with a little bit of a lid or words. It has like a sponge layer underneath the palette paper, and then you can close a lid on it, and the sponge is wet, so that way the paint stays wet when you close the lid. Honestly, it's pretty awesome. Like, I don't know if you need this one in particular, but I got like the Stay Wet trademark copyright palette, and it's been good. The only thing I'm running into is that it's the one that I got is small, and so I'm starting to feel the smallness now that I've used it for multiple projects, and like now I want to use it for other things, but there's still wet paint from other projects, so yeah, that makes it a little more complicated. But yeah, we are painting. It's funny because the calendar itself, which is available now, I'll talk a little bit about it more, but it is not square. I thought maybe this was going to be the year that I made square ones. It's not. The pages are rectangular, but I think I was able to utilize it well enough. But the paintings themselves are square. Honestly, it's because I was going to do something else with all these paintings. I had an idea to like cut them all up and to make this kind of mega like weird abstract like big piece with it, which I ended up just doing digitally instead. The main reason for that is honestly, I just felt a little sentimental toward the paintings themselves, and so I wanted it kind of hurt me to cut them up, so I wanted to keep them intact, and also that way, I think I'm going to sell the originals, ? But yeah, this vlog, this video, whatever you want to call it, it has a mixture of sped up and real-time footage. I'm figuring out this YouTube thing. It's well, technically I started YouTube when I was like 10 years old, so it's year 15, but that doesn't count. It was like American Girl doll videos. Anyway, yeah, year 15, still figuring this YouTube thing out. But I think there's a value in both. Like, I don't know, I'm kind of a long YouTube video guy. I like having something on in the background while I'm doing other things, but I also can understand why someone would not want that. And so I'm trying to strike a balance between like, a meaty enough video to want to watch, but also something that won't take like all of your free time to watch, because that feels a bit, I don't know, egocentric. I'm sure there's other things you want to spend time doing. So yeah, this right now is sped up, but what you saw originally, I think you can kind of intuit when it is speeding up. I'm not like taking a 5-hour energy drink and suddenly moving a lot quicker. That would be useful, but no, it's just the magic of video editing. But yeah, as you can kind of start to see now, the theme for this year's calendar is utility poles or electrical poles, telephone poles, whatever you want to call them. Honestly, I'm actively choosing not to deep dive into the mechanics of how they work, because I think it makes it more interesting for me. the kind of source material for all these images, I took them all myself. Woo! But they are all ones that I've encountered in my day-to-day life, living in Maine. I won't tell you exactly where all of these are because it would dox by like living patterns. Here's like a halfway point. You can see a little up close. But yeah, it would be doxing myself and like, cause I don't know, I like to take the same, routines. I walk the same places anyway. But yeah, I've been trying to like romanticize my everyday life, especially in this past year, because, you might already know, cause I complain about it frequently, but I've been working a full-time job this year, kind of for the longest time in my adult life. And it has, while it has given me some things like relative economic stability, it has also taken a lot from me. And so I'm trying to find beauty and joy in things that I encounter. And I honestly just think utility poles are very fascinating. They're in certain parts of the world and in certain towns and whatnot. They're so ubiquitous. You see them everywhere. It's kind of the object equivalent of a liminal space. They're not really meant to be looked at. They do just kind of serve a utility purpose. But I think the shapes within them and the variety, like no two are alike. Like even in a line, going down a street, I find that there's little differences from one to the next. And so I've just been looking at them, and so I wanted to paint them. I also think wires in general are interesting because it's kind of the closest in nature, and I say that in quotes because obviously, utility poles don't grow from the ground, but I think it is interesting that it's the closest kind of natural environment thing that we have to like line art in real life. I think in the kind of battle of representation between like more painterly styles versus more illustrative styles, we tend to equate more painterly and like quote unquote realistic things to moving away from line and moving into like shape and form and color. But in this case, the kind of realism and verisimilitude of these scenes comes from all of the wires, including these lines. And so I think that's also part of what I think is interesting about them. I personally kind of find some sort of like satisfaction in like looking at the lines and kind of letting my eyes follow the shapes that I'm seeing. So that's kind of why I picked this theme for my calendar this year. If you're new, you may not know, but I also made a calendar last year that was a very different theme that I also really love. It was a horror pinup calendar. So different horror movie characters, and kind of, seductive, clothing and poses and whatnot. It's pretty silly. It's very tongue in cheek. But yeah, it is funny. I can acknowledge the humor in the difference between this year and last year. Who knows what 2027 will bring? I kind of like keeping people on their toes. I like having options. So yeah, this is a little bit of real-time footage. I think it's good to include, like, let me start this sentence over, but in terms of how I want to record video and how I want to demonstrate both my art and the process of making it, I do think it is valuable to include real-time, like real footage, and not kind of speed it up and edit it down and chop it up completely all of the time. I think there's a time and place for stuff like that, but I think to an outsider, or maybe just someone who doesn't do art, or, is starting art, whatever, I think it is really easy to get a conception in your head of like how, like, what you think is actually happening versus like what is really happening. Like, I feel like it always looks a lot easier when someone else is doing it. That kind of goes for like anything in life, like in general. I feel the same way about, I don't know, let's say like exercise or something. like obviously a fitness bro recording themselves working out, like it'll make it look really easy, and then when I try it, I break my entire body. Anyway, so connecting to that, I think it is important to me to be as authentic and as quote unquote real as I can be, within reason. I mean, you can also kind of see that in my more recent uploads. Especially because I have this easel like in my kitchen. And so like, I'm just not an organized person. I'm not one of those aesthetic guys with like the all white stuff and the I'm not that, and I don't think a lot of people are like that in real life. So I want to make content my way, basically, and whether or not it'll necessarily be more or less successful, I don't know, but I've been thinking about that a lot this past year, and especially kind of more recently. It just like, I don't know, it's tough because I don't want to treat social media like a business or something like that. Just feels dystopian to me. But also I do want to use it to my advantage, quote unquote, or I don't know. I feel like I'm maybe not articulating the thoughts that I want to, but I've been thinking about how I want to use social media because I do want to use it more than I have been this past year. And so I've been kind of consciously thinking about like, okay, what feels good to post? What doesn't feel good? And just kind of those attitudes. And I think for me, pretending as if I'm like an aesthetic YouTuber with like all of this like expensive, clean girl aesthetic stuff, it would just be like another form of masking, and I'm trying to do less of that in my life. So you're gonna see me in my messy apartment and my scanner in the background, and it's fine. We're all having fun and laughing and playing. I'm still kind of experimenting with how I actually want to like record my videos. You can kind of see me try out some other angles in here. And yeah, let me know, if you have any preferences for like the real time versus sped up, or like, what angles you think, if you have feedback on that, I'm interested in hearing it. You can see that's basically it. That's it for this one. Originally, I thought this one was going to be October, and I ended up moving it to December because I thought the kind of grayness both spoke to winter, but then also kind of connects back to January in a more interesting way. So you can see me walking over. I was keeping these all up on my wall while I was working on them. I feel like it kind of added to the madness of actually making all of these. I'm running out of space to keep art in my apartment. But yeah, now we're moving on to number 2. For all of these calendar pieces, I I taped out all the squares. This is on chipboard, so it's kind of like, the book binding kind of stuff. It's just basically like cardboard that's more satisfying to like paint on because it's not corrugated. I kind of put down random colors on all of them. I tried to keep like a vague sort of progression. I think like at the start, what I viewed as like the start of the year, there's a little bit more like reds and browns and stuff, and then gets a little bit more vibrant in the warmer months of the northern hemisphere year, and then as it goes to fall and winter, it kind of gets more dead and cold again. So you can see this one is November's, and it's pretty blue. Forgot the color. This is where a BFA can get you. But yeah, I found that to be kind of fun because I didn't have the pictures corresponded to like what month I wanted to paint them when I prepped my surfaces. And so I think that ended up creating some really interesting, color conversations between what I was painting and what was already there. As you can kind of see between both of these, I found myself really enjoying kind of putting down a messy, wet wash of color at first, and then slowly kind of building up both the thickness and the opacity of the paint. And then I kind of finished all of them off by going back to the ground and filling them in more fully, saying ground instead of background there, just took me back to art school because I had a instructor who's very, and it is true, there's figure and ground. Calling it background is not, the most useful term all the time. Anyway, that's some little art school tidbits for you. But yeah, I think so. The one that we previously saw, the kind of gray one, when I was taking that picture, it was a very like Silent Hill foggy day. And so that was kind of what interested me in that one compositionally. And then this one, I liked, I don't know, you'll kind of see them actually, but the way that the wires engage this one and make it more active, I thought was really interesting. I've found the process of making this calendar actually really fun. I found last year's fun to make as well, but I enjoy kind of making a process for myself, or like kind of, it's kind of like making a comic where you have to, for the most part, kind of pick a style or like kind of figure out what you actually want a page to look like, and then you kind of execute that on all the pages. I found this to be kind of like that, but still have more wiggle room and like what exactly each painting was going to look like. And yeah, this past year, you maybe have noticed, if you follow me or have seen kind of my more, well, I don't know, I've been painting more. And there's kind of multiple reasons to that. And by painting more, I mean like traditionally painting versus just making digital artwork, which is obviously not to say I've made no digital, like I've been making digital stuff too. But yeah, my day job, that sucks and I hate it, that I'm actively trying to find other jobs right now. Cross your fingers for me. But it is a desk email spreadsheet job, basically. And so in my spare time, I've been enjoying, engaging with some not screen time. And I don't want to talk about AI because it just kind of makes me sad, but that also, the way that has infected basically everything forever, has also made me consciously want to make more real things. which I feel complicated about because I don't like kind of minimizing digital art in that way. Like, I think it is so awesome what you can do with it. But I do think there is a different satisfaction in creating something physical that you can like hold in your hand and look at the way that the light engages with it in real life. That digital art just provides like a different experience. And I think this also connects to my struggles with social media and like what I want to do like art career wise. I guess for some context, last year I was working part-time and I was freelancing. I had a Patreon. I had an online shop. And at the end of last year, about a year ago, the anniversary was on the 5th. I had surgery. It was good surgery. It was top surgery. But I left my previous part-time job. And I said to myself, I'm going to get like a quote unquote real job for like a year, and I'm going to see how it goes. And the reason why I did that is just because I kind of felt maybe a little disillusioned with art and like at least the way that I was interfacing with it and its interaction in my own life with money and equating the art I'm making to money. It was kind of bumming me out. It just generally like was not good for my mental health. I think for me and my mind, it is very easy to correlate any numbers, like, you know, whether it's like analytics or number of sales or like kind of that sort of stuff, you know, because a number is relatively concrete versus like someone giving you a compliment, or like there is like a more measurable impact to a number. If the numbers are going up, it's like awesome. We're pogging up, we're popping champagne metaphorically. But if the numbers are not going up, I find myself continuing to like look and obsess over it. And that's not great. It doesn't feel great. And also I think it's just kind of like uncharitable to like me and also the people that follow me, because like, you know, I think if like a post flops or whatever, like there's so many factors that go into like, you know, it's not just me and it's also not like all of my followers actively deciding to like not like it or something. Like they're just busy, they're living their lives. And then there's like the algorithm, the basically I was not enjoying the way that I was going about monetizing my artwork or like trying to like make my art career sustainable. A, it was not working on a financial level, like, to be honest, and B, it was not making me feel good. So this year I actively kind of chose to step back from it and then reassess and then, you know, kind of move forward, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to like equate my artwork to money at all, to be so real. And obviously that makes it a little hard to make a career out of it. But yeah, I don't really enjoy feeling like a salesman all the time. I feel a bit scummy, even though obviously like I would not sell anything that I don't think has some kind of value. So, you know, like if I'm posting about stickers I made or something, like I made it because I want to make it and I feel good about making it, but I do still feel a bit like a scumbag for having to like advertise things, because I think so much of social media now is just like a walking advertisement, you know, maybe obscured by a level of two, but still just like people trying to get you to buy things. And like, I just don't want to be a part of that. But also I do not like working a full-time job. To be honest, I don't like, my brain literally, yeah, I just feel like my brain not feel like, I kind of know, that my brain is not built for this kind of stuff. And so I want to make art work for me in a financial career sense or whatever. So I don't have the full answers, but I'm trying to find ways of making work that, A, I like the work that I'm making, and B, I feel good about asking people to pay for it. I also think in illustration in general, there's kind of, I don't know, a lot of the ways of like making income I just don't really want to do. Like, I don't know if I necessarily, and love and light, I don't know if I want to make like frog, cowboy boot stickers all the time. Like that kind of like, I don't want to just make like stuff. I feel weird about just making stuff that'll probably end up in a landfill at some point. And so I want to be more conscious about the work that I'm making. And so I think for me, at least kind of what I've devised right now, and this is still kind of speculative, but I do think I want to incorporate more of a quote-unquote fine art gallery approach along with other stuff that I'm making. And so, making a painting and selling the painting for what I think it's worth and what it is worth. And that feels better to me. Like, I think I can sleep at night knowing that. But then also still having my artwork be accessible to people who can't pay at all, because I do value that very strongly. And I think that is like something that is important to me, to have things accessible at different price points. Just because I know, like, growing up, I didn't feel comfortable, like, I couldn't ask my parents to, like, buy me this, like, whatever. Anyway, I don't know, have I been making sense? Let me know in the comments. But I think, among other things, having kind of original paintings that I can sell, like, I've been enjoying working in that way. It's been making me, have to think a bit more while I'm making, versus I think digital allows me to work really quickly in ways that sometimes aren't helpful. Like, I think it's good to be a little bit more kind of patient with myself and kind of work through things. Anyway. And then I have been trying to write more. The outcome of it has been kind of lackluster so far, but I think I like having, I don't know, basically with comics, right? I love making comics, but it's not super commercially viable, at least for me at this current juncture. But I still like making them. So basically, here's my TLDR. I want to set myself up for being able to make whatever I want. My dream client is me. I don't really like doing commission work. I think I've come to that realization within myself. And I think it's because there is like a social aspect to it. And also, I kind of go rage against the machine mode when someone tells me to do something. I kind of immediately don't want to do it. And that's not to say that like I'm working with bad people. I really enjoy the people that I work with for the most part. I think, and I will still do commissions from time to time and that sort of thing. But my dream client is me. Like, in an ideal world, I want to make whatever the frick I want to make and be able to like live in a 1-bedroom apartment. Like, that's my dream, So I will be trying ways to make that happen in a way that makes me feel good while doing it. And that's also part of why I've been trying to get back on the YouTube horse, so to speak. I like watching videos. It is a social media I use the most at this point, even though I would argue I don't really use it in the social. Anyway, I I like watching videos, and I think there's something to still get out of long form video. So that's why I'm excited about making videos again. But yeah, as you can see, the painting's done. Like I said, the calendar is now available as you're watching this. I have it both available digitally on my itch.io, and then I also have it available on Mixam print link as I think it might be region restricted, and in that case I apologize, but I give you full permission to print the calendar if you buy it. And then I'm confirming this. I will be selling the originals on my store. So if you are interested in that, if you want to pick up an original painting, please feel free to check that out. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that, and I'll see you next time. Thank you very much.